special thanks and special mention to Ashishman Kangiru for sending the invite personally and delivering it and making sure that I came along. Thank you. See, I'm not new to New York. I've been here, I went to school here, not at Columbia, but I went to CUNY down the street. And I've lived here for a couple of years, so very, very familiar, and it's always a good feeling to come back to this wonderful, wonderful city. And thank you, especially to all those who have made it from various parts of the US to be here. Thank you. I just wanted to talk to you guys about a special growth story of the youngest state in India, which I refer to as the most successful startup state of independent India. Next year, in 2027, India will be completing 80 years of independence. And in the last 80 years, I can say this with utmost confidence and with a bit of a swag as well, that I represent that state in India, which has done tremendous things in a short span of time. And I truly take a lot of pride in this state that we fought hard to get, and we also fought hard to administer over the last decade and more. Having spent a decade at the intersection of industry, innovation, and governance, I can tell you with confidence that when leadership has a clarity of purpose, and when leadership can focus on getting things right, even in a country like India, which is probably the most diverse nation on the planet, things can be done, and clarity of purpose can build credibility far beyond geography. Peter Drucker very famously said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. That's exactly what we try to do over the one decade since Telangana became an independent state. In Telangana, in many ways, we have not waited for growth, we have not waited for opportunities, but build institutions, infrastructure, and confidence that could attract growth, opportunity, and innovation. Telangana, like I mentioned, was not a state that was given on a platter to us. We in fact had to fight really hard, struggle really hard, led by our very able leader, Shri KTR. It was born out of struggle, sacrifice, and ultimately the world's largest democracy. The government of India had to heed to the popular demand of the people of Telangana. Our story, the state story, is a story that represents dignity, aspiration, and progress. What is that story? I would like to elaborate in a bit. This conversation for me is special because, and is bigger, not just from one state's perspective, but not just from one region's perspective, but to give you hope that one state can achieve, so much within a decade. The rest of India can also accomplish a lot more to create a national momentum. Because India has always been treated as one country with a lot of promise, with a lot of hope, with a lot of potential. And it's been 80 years since independence. Now there is a new goalpost. We talk about Vikasit Bharat in 2047. But I think the promise, if it has to be delivered, if it has to be fulfilled, there are a lot of things that India needs to get right, and Telangana can certainly be the lighthouse for the rest of the country. I would also like to quickly point out, India's greatness, India's rise, will not come from sameness. India's rise, India's potential, India's ability to deliver onto its potential will come from regions playing to their natural strengths. Imagine in India, we talk about double-engine government. You keep hearing the slogan, double-engine governments. But imagine in India, with 28 engines, all roaring to go. Imagine a Formula One race for a minute. Are there any F1 fans here? I'm sure. I'm not talking about the movie. I know Brad Pitt, of course, but imagine a Formula One race where you have 20 race cars competing against one another and bustling with energy, and really going at each other. India could be a similar story unfolding, provided our 28 states play to their strengths, play to their potential, and eventually accomplish the collective dream of being in the first world by 2047. That is why Telangana's journey matters, not just as a state story, but as part of a much larger Indian story. Now, I'd like to quickly, I only have 6 slides, so don't worry, it won't be a very boring, long speech. I know politicians are in love with mics and their voices. So I'll try and keep it as simple and as quick as possible. India is no more just the back office of the world. I think most of you would agree with me on that, because it's not just the back office, it's not just a large market that the world, especially the enterprises across the world look at. But India is in fact a very serious long-term operating platform for all the enterprises across the world. This is probably a very, very dynamic shift which really provides an opportunity for a lot of enterprises to lean in and probably pick up opportunities. We're no longer a country that just is about potential. We're becoming a country of platforms, of ecosystems, and brimming with confidence. In fact, India offers unbridled talent. We offer market scale, and we also offer policy, which is extremely important, aligned with the digital infrastructure needs of current day enterprise. We produce, when I say talent, India has the world's largest think force on the planet. The world is getting older, but India is getting younger. Now, we produce almost 1.5 million engineers every single year. That's probably larger than any other country in the world. And most importantly, out of these engineers, if you look at the median age, India's median age is only 27. 50% of Indian population is less than the age of 27. But what is even more exciting, 65% of Indian population today is less than the age of 35. So imagine a workforce, and now people are talking about longevity and where humans are going to apparently live until 120 and 150. I'm not one of those believers, but still, assume for a minute that if somebody's going to live up to 120 or 150, look at what India has to offer in terms of potential human resources. Now that is probably the youngest and most diverse talent pools that you'll see. More importantly, as I mentioned, the digital infrastructure that is being set in place, set in motion, also creates enough opportunities by reducing friction across the various sectors in economy. Access has become faster, transactions have become smoother, and scale has become easier to manage. What mattered even more was how strong states and capable cities have converted that shift into real economic confidence. Now, India is not just a cost story anymore. It's not just a low-cost, high-value human capital that is at the offering. It's a capability story. In fact, it's a story of young Indians who really want to change over the course of the next decade or so the face of the rest of the world, provide solutions not just for India, but for the rest of the world as well. If you look across India, I think states, when I mentioned 28 different states all being powered and playing to their natural strengths, etc., what do I mean? What I mean is, if you look at Tamil Nadu has built in-depth trade, manufacturing, and logistics capabilities over the last several decades. If you look at Karnataka, again, one of my favorite states in the country, especially Bengaluru as a city, has become the Silicon Valley of India without question. It has built innovation density at scale. And if you look at Maharashtra, led by Mumbai and Pune, of course, have built financial gravitas and metropolitan scale, which is comparable even to a city like New York. Anybody from Bombay here? Do you still call it Bombay or Mumbai? Mumbai, of course, Amchi Mumbai. And Telangana, of course, as a young state, has shown that you can move with speed, innovate in policy, and build with intent and create a growth story that travels beyond boundaries. And the larger lesson is very simple. India may attract attention through Prime Minister Modi and others at international and national forums, but investment decisions are made locally, at the state level, at the city level, on the ground. That is extremely important to understand. When people talk about enterprises and entering India, please remember, there are 28 different Indias out there. You have to pick which part of India you want to enter, because your entire experience hinges on choosing the right kind of state and on having a bilateral conversation with the states that are important. Because a lot of enterprises, they need to decide what works very well for them, because what works for Google might not work the same for Apple. So it became very important for us from Telangana's perspective that we need scale, we need innovation, we need the potential to reduce friction for anybody who's wanting to enter India. And that's exactly what we've done. Just to give you an example of why I call my state the most successful startup state of independent India. When we assumed office in 2014, on the 2nd of June, the total technology exports from the state of Telangana, and primarily from Hyderabad, was only 57,000 crores of rupees. Approximately back then, I think if you look at the rupee conversion, was about $8 billion. But by the time we left office in 2023, it rose from 57,000 crores to almost 2.72 lakh crores. And this is despite COVID. This is despite 2 years of crisis that has affected everybody across the world. The technology sector employment alone, when we assumed office in 2014, it was about 323,000 to be precise, 3.23 lakhs. And when we left office, it was almost 1 million people working in technology sector alone in Hyderabad. You could see how quickly we were able to ramp up in terms of numbers, how quickly we were able to support all these enterprises across the world and attract investments in billions and billions of dollars. Just to give you an example again, guess where Amazon's world's largest campus is? Hyderabad, not in Seattle. So, again, an incredible story where we could deliver all permissions to Amazon within 11 days of them applying to build the world's largest campus. Guess where Google's, Apple's, Meta's, and even Uber, Salesforce, Micron, Novartis, their second largest base outside of the US is Hyderabad. It's my fiduciary responsibility to the list is large, the list is long. Uber, Salesforce, Micron, Novartis, I can go on. It's a long list. Hyderabad did not just market itself well. It built the capacity to absorb ambition of the enterprises to grow, to scale, to expand.